All right, we're back to talk about Alien Earth, Season 1, Episodes 1 and 2 on FX on Hulu. These episodes titled Neverland and Mr. October. Alien Earth is created by Noah Hawley. These episodes written by Noah Hawley, and they are both directed by Noah Hawley and Dana Gonzalez. All right, buckle up. We have two episodes to go through here on the rundown. So, in the year 2120, the USCSS Maginot, a Weyland-Yutani research ship, has been on a mission for 65 years and is returning to Earth when it is attacked by a xenomorph on board, one of the many specimens it was collecting during its travels, and that ship crashes to Earth. Morrow, a Weyland-Yutani synth, survived the crash and is attempting to protect the xenomorph so he can deliver it to his corporation. Another corporation, Prodigy, run by trillionaire Boy Cavalier, controls a research island named Neverland and also a city called Prodigy City in New Siam. Through Prodigy's work, a sick female child becomes the first human to have her consciousness transferred into a synthetic body. She names herself Wendy. She also becomes the mentor for several other children who undergo the procedure, all given names of lost boys from Peter Pan. The Weyland-Yutani ship crashed in Prodigy City, and Cavalier is unwilling to give any of its contents back, saying it will be seen as hostile if Weyland-Yutani attempts to come and retrieve it. Cavalier and Chief Science Officer Krish send in Wendy and the Lost Boys to help with cleanup and retrieval of the crash. Wendy learns that her brother Hermit is one of the medics for the Prodigy security force and is on site at the crash. Wendy searches for Hermit, but a xenomorph on the loose catches him in the search of the rescue team after the crash. After they eventually do reunite, Wendy, Hermit, and Krish discover a room full of xenomorph eggs, and just as they do, the mother arrives and drags away Hermit. So we did get two full long episodes here to start off this series. A lot happening, including a pretty interesting, sort of look back at, what was happening on this ship and what was the context before it crashed. I don't know, maybe just start with sort of general thoughts. How did you find these two episodes that premiered last night?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. Um, I don't know that we need two episodes for the premiere.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
apologies that I'm always complaining about this kind of thing, but maybe with some shows, it's like, okay, you can see why they did two episodes. You might feel like you need two episodes to really get into it. But I didn't feel like that with this one at all. They could have just given us one episode, and I would be just as stoked as I am now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good. I thought it was really interesting. What about you?
Yeah, I really did love it. I thought the same about particularly the first episode. There was a lot happening in that first episode, giving us the ship, giving us Prodigy, giving us the story of the girl Marcy who becomes Wendy. So a lot happening there that I think they were able to pretty quickly orient us in what exactly was happening. I, having not seen anything ahead, found that I really loved the few minutes we got on the Maginot with that crew, and I hope we get some more of that. There were some really interesting characters on there. Sadly, besides Morrow, they're all now dead.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about that a little bit more because I definitely enjoyed the scene.
Yeah,
But it's like, dude, I've seen this movie before.
yeah.
You know what I
It was
mean?
a very
Where
direct callback to the movies. Yes.
I'm just saying, like when it opened, the episode opened with the crew on that ship. It's like, well, all these people are going to die. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
yeah,
bother to like learn their name.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Um,
yeah,
so, um, yeah, I mean, some more with them would be cool if they can work it in the right way. But
yeah.
in contrast, one of the things I did want to say is I personally really enjoyed how they did it in
Hmm.
terms of rather than kind of slowly showing us what happened to them on the ship, there was
Yep.
just these kind of like quick flashes of mayhem and death. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like we don't
yeah,
even see exactly how things went wrong. And I kind of like that. So I kind of
yeah,
don't want them to go back and like show us exactly how things went wrong. If they went back
yeah.
further, that might be more interesting to me, like to their expedition itself or something like that.
I think that's what hooked me because yeah, I don't need to go back and see the attacks, right? I've seen that a lot of places before. I appreciated the almost it seemed in some senses shot for shot callback to scenes from Alien and from Aliens, but in not showing the attacks and showing just how the crew was interacting, that part I really liked. Risha Morjani was on here. It's one of the characters. I didn't realize she was there. This is she's a direct pullover from Fargo. She was the police officer, the female police officer in that show. Did not realize some of these people were, I guess, sort of minor characters as a part of this crew. So I just appreciated who they were and their interaction. What we likely will not get many, if any at all, of them looking back. But it was, I think, effective, as you said, into we know what this world is like and what it looks like when something takes over a ship. We didn't have to see that. We saw instead who was affected by this, and that was maybe more interesting.
Yeah. Let's talk about Morrow a little bit. I think you said in your summary he was a synth. I think he's a cyborg.
Okay,
Um,
yeah. So I have to make that distinction, right? So there are synthetic beings, there are synthetic humans, and there are cyborgs. So I guess I wasn't clear. Is he is one or the other? I guess I'm just thinking about Ash and David in the previous movies. They were synthetic humans, if I understand correctly.
right. So I think this is new. I think this is
Okay,
new
okay.
to like the mythology. I could be wrong. Someone out there can, put it in the comments and educate us. But I think that's. I also think Prodigy as a company is new. But
They are new, yes.
yeah. But at the very beginning of the first episode, there's that text that lays out these three different distinct forms of. Now I'm searching for a general term. That's no good. Kind of synthetic or hybrid life or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
that. So, as I understand it, then from what that text says, um, someone like David and or Ash would be a synth. So
Yes.
basically, they're an android,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, Someone like Wendy, they're calling a hybrid,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of interesting stuff there to talk about more. But I'm pretty sure they tell us that Morrow is a cyborg,
Okay. I remember it
and
laid
these
out,
are
there are two things that exist already. There are cyborgs, maybe slightly more intelligent and more advanced would be the synth. And then they're seeking this sort of third ultra intelligent, more advanced hybrid human synth creature, which is what Wendy ends up becoming. So yeah, so that would make sense. We have an example of a cyborg in Moro. We have in other entities, we have examples of synth, and in this show, we have examples of synth as well. And now we're introduced to this new one.
yeah. So like I think it's a directionality thing. Like the cyborg is a human being who becomes enhanced through the technology.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then I'm pretty sure this was also a question I wanted to raise to you. I'm pretty sure that Kirsch, Timothy Oliphant's character, is a synth. I don't
Yes,
know that they
he's
ever
listed
tell us,
in.
but I made that
Yeah,
assumption.
they don't come out and tell us, but I think in his mannerisms, and I've looked at some of the descriptions of this character in various places, and he's clearly described as Prodigy's synth chief science officer, and so they're making that clear at this point. Yeah,
Yeah, man. I mean, the way that he talks about human beings as though he is not
right.
one,
Yeah,
and
yes,
we know he's not a hybrid like Wendy.
just
Um,
absolutely loved that from Timothy Oliphant. Loved it.
he's great, and I guess Timothy Elephant just walks that way. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah,
Because there's no reason. Like it's a very quick thing, and sorry, it's almost a tangent, but there's a something to his gait where I might have been tempted
yeah.
to say it was a Raylan Givens walk,
I was
but
just
I don't
gonna
think
say
it's just a
he's
Timothy
doing the
Oliphant
justified
walk.
walk. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um. So yeah, he's quite good. So let's see. So the episode goes from showing us what's happening on the ship, which we were talking about, basically jumping then to what happens with Marcy becoming Wendy. I guess this is as good of a time as any to talk about that a bit more. Um, there's some really interesting questions here, I think, on a philosophical type level, even. What do you think of this whole idea, I guess, of um, however we put it? That's part of what's in question, I think. But basically, like putting the kid's consciousness in a robot.
Yeah, I found it interesting that, and maybe we could dig deeper into this, that it was only children's consciousness. I think they referenced something like this, that, it's more expandable, it's able to, better adapt to a body that it's put in, as opposed to the more, structured, closed off, rigid mind of an adult that wouldn't be able to adapt to this. I mean, in a sense of, as we're dealing with corporations here, corporations that seem to have taken over the control of the world and our solar system. This is the
Yeah.
next advancement in their evolution, not only of their profits, but of their technology and of their IP and all the things that they're developing. So it makes sense from a sort of a capitalistic perspective that yes, they're going to keep striving to do this, which made the conversation, I think, between Cavalier and now I'm forgetting her name, the
Oh,
female's
I think it's like Dame
officer,
Sylvia.
Dame Sylvia, their conversation that more interesting. Him saying he's not doing it for money, he's not doing it for the technology, he's just doing it because he's just bored basically and wants somebody that can match his intelligence, someone interesting to talk to. So from like I said, from a corporate capitalistic perspective, this just makes total sense. This is the evolution. But then what is his real intention? There's something else there that we're not exactly privy to yet of why he's doing this, and that's probably going to come later in the show.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's parse one question from another because you went into
Yeah.
what I think is almost a separate question in my mind. First, the technology itself, you're right. They tell us at one point, it is said that they can only do it with children
Yeah.
because adults' minds are too stiff or something like
Yeah.
that. Is that true? Maybe we'll find out. But maybe it is true,
Yeah. Yeah.
or maybe there is hope down the line that they'll be able to start doing it with adults.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because one of the things that did put me in mind of as a kind of parallel is something like San Junipero, the Black Mirror episode, right? Because you do have like terminally ill kids here,
Yeah.
and on an ethical level, that might make you feel better about it, right? Like you're not taking healthy kids and killing them and turning them into androids. You're
Yeah.
taking terminally ill kids and killing them and turning them into because there's the whole problem about personal identity here, right? Like however you
Yeah.
want to I mean, like, okay, well, of course, if you believe that there really is metaphysically a soul, that's not being transferred. But without that, without going too far into the weeds of it as a philosophical problem, you can talk about it in terms of continuity of consciousness, that sort of
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, once again, you've got this kind of structure where, oh, we've got different names to work with. So this is great. From Wendy's perspective, she is Marcy. She has that continuity of consciousness, like
Right.
she went to sleep and now she's woken up as Wendy in the adult body, right? But Marcy died
Right.
physically, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like even if you imagine they can perfectly copy someone's consciousness with all their memories and all of that. Um, if I'm not being clear, imagine the alternate scenario where Wendy didn't die or where Marcy
Hmm.
didn't die, right? Then you would have Wendy who experiences herself in continuity with Marcy, but at the very moment that you had duplicated Marcy, now you'd have two distinct individuals,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it's like we're getting this out that one of them dies. And, if you don't think about it too much, you can kind of think, oh, yeah, well, so it's the same person. But if you do think about it, that's kind of in the background there. And I don't know, I
That,
kind of just wanted to bring
and
that
that's
out a little
why
bit.
I thought that Under the Radar, one of the most interesting conversations that happened on these first two episodes was, I think I had this right that Kirsch is talking to Wendy about how this synthetic body does not develop hormones. And so there are certain things that it cannot duplicate. They're trying their best to implement that within it, but that, yeah, they understand and recognize that there are certain things that make up who a person are and the emotions, the reactions, the intuitions that would be a part of a person's personality that they just cannot duplicate. They're trying to do that mechanically or scientifically, but they just are not able to. I found that to be an important conversation that I'm sure is going to come up later somehow.
Well, yeah, because it seems like that's being set up as a matter of debate or contestation, right? From Kirsch's perspective, why
Yeah.
why do you want to give all of these,
Yeah.
fickle human emotions and all, these are
Right.
flaws of humanity,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
throughout the Alien franchise, it's clear, right? This is like sort of have this as kind of agenda at play.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas then we need to circle back to what you're mentioning from Boy Cavalier. What kind of name is this?
Yeah. We're just
Um,
less creative in the future, I guess.
he uh he says that they're talking about when he's talking to Dame Sylvia in that conversation you referenced, they're talking about the importance of mimicking humanity, right? Like the idea is to carry forward humanity, and that includes things like our emotionality and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's there. What do you think of his line about wanting to wanting to have a conversation with someone smarter than him and things like that? I kind of wanted to smack him in the mouth.
Yeah. It almost seemed like here's a recommendation, not for a show, but for a movie. I don't know if you've caught this movie that the creator of Succession recently had released on HBO called Mountainhead. That's basically about four or five tech titans that come together for their annuals or winter meetup just to talk about how they're going to control the world, basically. And it's just the language in that movie and just sort of the pompousness and the arrogance and the sort of what we can do and what we are important enough to accomplish. Just I mean, it's exactly overlaps what this guy Boy Cavalier was saying. So just sort of this very much a commentary on these tech giants that are seemingly trying to take over the world.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to watching Mountainhead. I've heard some things about it and kind of been on my radar or long list of things to watch maybe
Yeah.
sometime. Um, so I have a sense of what it is. I did find myself feeling in the scene when Boy Cavalier is saying all of this. I'm like, man, these tech guys need to like study philosophy. That's what they need.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Right, right. Like, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't find anyone smarter than me. Go read Immanuel Kant. What are you doing?
Yeah. I
They
did find
yeah.
another part of that conversation interesting where I think Dame Sylvia says, we beat death. But to your point we were talking about earlier, beating death is not I think what advances humanity because they cannot replicate what actually makes up humanity. They've just prolonged someone's memories and facts about them. So they have just by beating death, they've not advanced humanity. If that's their goal, I'm not sure that from a philosophical perspective that they have achieved that. But that may be outside the scope of this
Well,
show.
I don't know because it's I think in reference to what he said, or I would want to spin it in a slightly different way. I'd have let me put it this way first. Right. There's a part of me that is totally on board with this idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, and that's probably not true for everyone. There's probably some people who watch this like are just utterly aghast and disgusted at this. There's part of me that's kind of like, we could, make humanity immortal and so on. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, why? Well, for me, I'd be like, you just read like Plato's Symposium, and
Yeah.
um, we're after that, pursuit of wisdom and truth and all of that kind of stuff, right? So there's
Yeah.
definitely part of me that would be like, yeah, okay, we can do this for, almost philosophical type reasons in terms of um progressing in that philosophical space is what I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is in some degree might sound similar to what Boy Cavalier says, but I'm not sure it is. Anyway, um, at the same time, though, part of what I really enjoyed in the show, from an entertainment aspect that feeds into this, is the kid synths, right? So, like, if at all your idea was, um, like preserving human knowledge and wisdom indefinitely into the future, the
Yeah.
fact that you can only do this with children
Yeah.
undermines that a bit, right? As opposed to having someone who's lived a full life and so on and so forth, who now
Right.
gets to live on. The fact that they're kids, I don't know, it's interesting.
I was going to ask how that landed with you. The Wendy and the Lost Boys being synths who are children essentially. So this is adults now acting like, you know, 10 to 14-year-olds basically. How that landed with you, just sort of yeah, there were times where I thought, oh, it's sort of pulling me out of it a little bit. That they're having to sort of. act, these mannerisms, the way that they project, the way that they say different things. But in the end, it was like, oh, okay, actually, I can see, that this is a line they have to follow because of what they've set up. But just for a couple times, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not so sure it's my favorite.
I kind of appreciated though how it brought in. It opens the door for a little bit of humor that I think helps
Hmm.
the show,
Yeah.
um, and that's a big part of it. Also, I guess I'm appreciating the way in which it's basically our protagonist who is largely she's more of a naive child than there
Yes.
is. I mean, there are a couple of ways in which I think Noah Hawley is almost intentionally inverting things from the original film,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, I think there's a way in which you could think of Wendy as almost an inverse of Ripley,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, because Ripley's like old, hardened, veteran kind of badass, and I've got
Yeah.
Wendy who's like, kid in a woman's body, what's going on? Yeah. And also the
Yeah.
thing with the cat is like, that's right. We don't need to talk about that
Absolutely.
too much.
I thought about that a little bit, especially in terms of Aliens, where you've got Ripley protecting a child, now a child that's much, much younger than these children were that have been synthed over or put in artificial bodies. But just sort of, yeah, what happens if instead of Ripley in charge of rescuing them, you've got these children in charge of rescuing them. They have advantage certainly from their makeup and their body and their composure, but yeah, they're really just children. They're out in charge of this mission right now.
Yeah, and we don't know what all they can do. That first scene when she's sitting on the ledge on the cliffside or whatever,
Yeah.
where
Yes.
I immediately said, how'd she get there, and how's she going to get down? Well, she jumps.
Yeah. Another thing that I think
She's
was
fine.
very intentional, so these are not just human consciousness in normal human functioning bodies. They have some super abilities that we're not fully exposed to yet.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to explore. Um, what do you think about the fact that we've got the xenomorph, which we're familiar
Hmm.
with?
Hmm.
Um, let's let's pause there, I guess. One question you put on our show sheet is how many xenomorphs are there? I was
Yeah.
largely under the impression that there was just one on the loose, but I guess I don't know when it comes down to it. How did it?
Yeah. I mean, certainly there was a sense of following just one around, but then
Uh-huh.
we saw, I mean, several face huggers in sort of preserved states. I thought we saw two people who had their chest bursted, but maybe it was just different angles of the same person. So I guess that was my
Mm.
sense of, are there two wandering around out there? We certainly have had movies and other contexts of the past where there's been more than one at a location at any given time. So it's either one or two, for as far as I can tell. I just could not determine exactly if this is the same one that's chasing them through the building. Is there another one loose on the ship as well? Just couldn't quite grasp. I mean, that may not be important, but um,
Well, from one point of view, it's very important.
yeah,
Um, it'll probably clarify,
yeah, yeah.
particularly in terms of the importance. And then we see a bunch of eggs, which
Hmm.
those eggs at the end, they seem kind of big to me.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Very, very mature. They're starting to move and percolate a little bit at the top, so they're about ready to burst on, on someone.
Yeah. So we got all that going. But okay, but then what do you think about like the other monsters? If we just want
Yeah.
to use the term. There's like new stuff. There's little sluggy guys. There's
Yeah.
the whatever the thing is that presents like flora but might be fauna, right? Like
Yes.
what do you there's the eyeball octopus monster. What do you think about all of these kind of new elements that they're bringing in here?
Okay, this was the one part of the show that I really just did not like very much, which was I am intrigued enough by the story you're creating with one or two xenomorphs. Now we've got five or six other creatures that we're trying to see what they are. One of them's or two of them have already embedded themselves inside of humans. One or two of them are growing somewhere. We're waiting to see what happens there. Um, I mean, this place is about to be overrun with creatures that we've not seen before, in addition to the xenomorph. So I kind of just wish now that we're at the stage of we're just sort of waiting to see what happens. I'm kind of at the stage where I wished it was just the xenomorphs.
Fair enough. I don't know. I guess I don't feel quite the same way.
Yeah,
I do kind of get it, like why we've it grabs me a little bit because there's more mystery about these things. What
yeah,
are they? What do they do? I mean, I guess we've got a pretty good sense what the eyeball octopus does at this point.
yeah. Now, I will say it makes sense that this was a research vessel going into deep space and was gone for 65 years, that they've collected various things along the way. That makes complete sense to me, right? So it's not like I'm confused or don't understand why they would do it. It's just I don't, maybe I'm just, I want to be all in with the xenomorphs. I don't want to be taken away, distracted by these other things if that means less of what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious to see where it goes. Because you have these corporations sort of competing now.
Yeah.
It's just what's in the background of it is, man, I mean, well, maybe that was think of like a line in Alien Romulus now. So I don't know if I should fully fold that in or what. Something we haven't talked about yet, the canon, as it were. Let's go to
Mm-hmm.
that actually. Um, Clearly this would fit in before the first Alien film. That's been
Yes.
said, like no Holly's,
Yeah, we are
uh,
told this takes place 2 years before the events of Alien. Yeah.
yeah, and there's some stuff out there that Noah Hawley basically ignored Prometheus. Um, but I started thinking about it, particularly as I was watching it last night. I started thinking about it more in relation to Fargo
Okay.
or in parallel, right? Like, I don't watch the Fargo TV show and wonder how it fits
Yeah,
in with the
that's
movie
right.
consistently,
Yeah.
right? Just to like, who cares? That's not the point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think maybe that might be the more appropriate tack to take here too, as opposed to trying to fit it in with, well, what's going to happen later in Alien
Right.
Romulus, in
I,
Aliens, in Alien Resurrection, and so on.
I think that's a very fair take on this, and probably one I will adopt for this show. I was reading somebody's analysis of the timeline and how you can sort of bend yourself into knots because if you think about that this vessel has been gone for 65 years, that predates the ship that went out in Prometheus, which had this sort of original intention. So how could it possibly, this should have gone out before that, So I think it's just a sense of, yeah, we need to sort of understand that we're in this universe and this universe is fascinating, and that's the thing that we need to focus on, not the did we get every detail right in the continuity of the timeline.
Yeah, well, and this is part of what I started thinking about too. I think at a certain level, the Alien verse has never been consistent, at
Right.
least not since Aliens.
Yeah, right. After
You
that
know,
one, we got some major time jumps and time leaps and timing, wiming stuff going on. So yeah.
and so I was like, oh, so it was consistent when there was only one film. How about that? But as soon as you go to Aliens, which of course you've got the change in director from James Cameron and all of
hmm
that, and then thinking about Resurrection, just thinking about all of the films, I don't know that there is a consistency that was already there. And so trying to fit this in consistently with everything else, I think just might be sort of a
Yeah.
fool's errand. Um, One thing though that was on my mind and still feels a little bit like a question, and I'm not sure if you caught evidence on this question. With regard to the xenomorph, do their
hmm
guns work? Do their guns hurt the
Hmm.
xenomorph? Like Moros has like a stun gun. That's
Yeah,
like a stun
the
gun.
taser thing worked for sure. Yeah.
That
Um,
worked. But like
boy,
there are other guns.
I don't recall in these first two episodes if they hit one, if it worked, if they did. I don't think we saw much acid blood in this episode, so they must not have hit one and taken care of one that way. So I don't know
Yeah,
that we have any resolution to that.
I don't know that it's been fully established.
No, I'm
Is
not
one of the
sure.
things that's always bothered me a little bit about Aliens, although I managed to reconcile it in my own mind a little bit because in the first film, there's like they cannot figure out a way to harm this thing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Like nothing works, right? And like spoiler warning for the 1979 film Alien, um, that like Ripley has to like shoot it into space or whatever in order to get
Yeah.
it. But then Aliens, now there's tons of them, and it's like the Marines are showing up, you know. But the way I came to reconcile this is like maybe it is that bullets work, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
right kind of bullets. But I was wondering here in the show because their guns kind of look more like laser guns,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I
That's right.
think would
That's right.
not work.
That would
So I
not
don't know.
work.
It's just something that's on my radar as a question. If they
Some
have
kind of
like
armor, yeah, armor piercing bullets or something might work if they had that.
right, but if society's advanced to where they tend to use laser guns,
Yeah.
those might not work.
That's
And it
right.
might be one of those old school kind of, discovering that the old school bullets work in a way that the
Yes.
more advanced guns don't. And I don't know. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
Maybe the show will not care about this question at all. But it was on my mind a little bit.
Maybe they're gonna have to use a baseball bat. I mean, we had this whole, this Reggie Jackson, that's the only way they can do it. They're gonna have to take a baseball bat to it.
But Ryan, the corporations do not want to kill it. Well, particularly Weyland
That's right.
Yutani does
That's
not
right.
want to kill it. Morrow tries to trap it. He's very uncooperative. Um, and so you have that. I think that's almost going to be more the defining conflict in the show between the corporations.
Yes.
But
Yes.
then we know that Weyland Yutani wants this specimen. But it seems Prodigy kind of does too, right?
Hmm.
So their interest is not going to be in killing it, but at the same time, even though I was just saying let's not worry about consistency with the films too much, the thing, it's going to have to die because if that is the continuity, right? This
Yeah.
is what would make sense. If it's set before the first film, then Weyland Yutani has lost this thing it's interested in, and then the point of the first film is that the real point of their mission is to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it does create an interesting spin on the first movie that if the plot, we have not seen beyond these two episodes, if the storyline here goes, this thing has come to Earth. We realize what it is, what its power is, whatever we can use it for. But somehow in the battle between Prodigy and Weyland Yutani or something, this thing is killed. All the more reason for us to send a message out to the Nostromo and say, get this thing and bring it back. We know how important it is, right? So that sort of sets up those events in an interesting way. If that's in fact what happens, we don't know yet.
Yeah, but it feels to me like it has to be almost something like that.
Yeah,
Although it is
yeah.
interesting with the corporate conflict at play, I guess it very well could be that Prodigy gets it.
Hmm.
And so now Wayland Utani is like, our competitor has one of these things. We need one too. It could be something like that, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a definite possibility. Do you get the feeling from these first two episodes that the entire season is going to be in this building?
Ooh, um, that's a good question. In one sense, I want to say yes, because it's got this dark, unknown spaces, easy to hide, creepy vibe that you want as part of an alien environment. But I guess it would depend on like what's the time frame of this show? Like how long is this, are we going in time here in these 8 episodes? Part of me says maybe where I'm landing is part of me says I think it'd be hard to do 8 full episodes within this building because they have to go so many other places. They have to go to Prodigy City. They have to go to some sort of conflict between the corporations. They're going to have to go and show us where Morrow is going. Um, so we're not going to be in the building the whole time, but I do imagine we keep coming back there.
Yeah, I think that's in line with the feeling that I got. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I could have put the question better. That, in other words, I don't think that the situation in the building is going to be resolved
Right.
prior
Yeah.
to the season finale.
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
going to move beyond that. But you're right, other stuff's going on as well. How much goes on in the world outside of that building? Um, Maybe more than there was in the first two episodes. I
Yeah.
almost hope. I don't know. Because it certainly would feel drawn out if you were spending 6 more hours just in the building. Now that would be too long. I think you're right about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, Somewhat related to this, we have the whole situation with Wendy and her brother Joe Hermit,
Hmm.
more frequently called Hermit. Um, and she found him, and and well, the other guy, the other kid, told him that
Yeah.
can't keep a
Spoil-
secret.
Spoiler secret. Yeah.
Um, but they had that kind of nice moment. But then at the end of episode two, I mean, really, Joe should be dead, right? He's not going to be dead. I don't think he's going to be dead, but he should be dead, right?
He's already avoided these things 2 times somehow. I mean, how many times can you keep getting captured by this thing or keep having it jump on you and not dying? I mean, this is not the way it normally works in the Alien franchise.
Yeah. I mean, some are going to, is he special somehow?
Yeah,
You
I don't
know,
know. I don't know.
does Xenomorph have a thing for him of some kind? Or is because he
Why
could definitely
why
cut
is
him.
why does it not purposely not kill Morrow? I think maybe a more interesting question. Does it know that it's trying to preserve it? Does it not kill things that are not human? I don't think so. But right up on Morrow's face and doesn't do anything to it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Morrow says something about how it can sense fear. And,
yeah, yeah,
there's always been that element with the xenomorphs that's not been fully explained. And we've seen things like that before in some of the films and so on, right? Like I'm
yeah.
sure that there are various moments where you could ask, why is it not killing Ripley? And something about the vibes, I don't know, like if you stare it down with courage, it's like, all right, what are you doing?
You can sense, yeah, sense fear. Yeah,
Well, but I mean, it is something where there's a level of the xenomorph that's sort of insect like, so I guess I do feel like there is that, parallel you could draw of asking, like, well, why didn't that bee sting you?
you're right, right.
You know, why did the bee sting you? Why didn't the bee sting you? There's something going on there, but it's
Yeah,
hard to like precisely pin down. I suppose you might want to say the bee felt threatened, and I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know
That's
if
true.
that
Yeah,
quite works in the same way with the
yeah,
xenomorph, but I don't know. There's always that level of something going on with it where it's not just straightforwardly killing everything necessarily.
yeah.
Um, I enjoyed it killing the rich people.
Oh, absolutely. They're just having their yeah, their Louis the 16th party and just not willing to leave. So yeah, you get the xenomorph if you're gonna do
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Really, because they're like, go away, boycott the deal with the quality and stuff. So that was good. Let's see. Other things we want to hit on here before we wrap up.
Uh, that's one thing I noticed that I could maybe this is just a personal thing I was looking for and trying to see how it would be affected by it. I could definitely tell we were dealing with CGI xenomorphs as opposed to the real thing back in the day. And maybe that's just a product of having watched some of this stuff again recently, but it certainly is a difference. And wish in some way we could get somebody in a suit or something to do that stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, but so it goes, I guess. Like it's much cheaper to computer generate the
Yeah,
images than to
yeah,
um, go the other way. Although I don't know exactly what they did here. Right? in
Yeah, I
fairness.
don't either.
Maybe I don't know. It is. I guess it is possible they might have a guy in a suit that they're CGIing up. I know
Yeah,
sometimes they do that, right? Like, have you seen? I'm sure in some context you've seen this kind of the behind the scenes type of footage where it's like they've
yeah,
got someone in a completely green suit,
right.
jumping around, and then they turn it into whatever.
That's probably what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. We mentioned Wendy and the Lost Boys, Peter Pan reference.
Hmm.
Anything more to say about that? I realized, there was a point where Boy Cavalier was reading the book, and I realized I'm not sure if I've ever really read that book, and but it
Yeah.
sounded like it was pretty good. Maybe I should go read the book.
Yeah,
Okay.
nor have I. I have not read that book, but yeah, plenty of Peter Pan references. I mean, clearly in the sort of a surface level of the kids not growing up, going to stay at that, consciousness and that maturity. So those references, and then several different references to the movie Ice Age, which I'd be curious to see what if anything comes of that, because that was a shared thing between Wendy and Hermit, and they show that in some flashbacks, so that was an odd choice, but we'll have to see if that means anything.
Yeah, I agree. I'll admit I had to look it up.
Yeah.
What is this movie that they're referencing? It was just like I Googled
Yeah.
the lines they say to each other, or whatever. Ice Age.
Ice Age, yeah,
All
yeah,
right. But yeah, so lots of interesting stuff going on here. Curious to see how it goes. How much more of this world will we see is a
yeah,
question I have. There's a moment in the opening scene on the ship where they're kind of explaining the structure of geopolitics to the one guy, but we don't get the full story. So it's like a half exposition dump. I sort of
yeah,
appreciated when it came down to it, but I'm curious about the rest of those details, I guess. Right? It seems
yeah.
like there's like five mega corporations or something.
That's right. Yeah, and apparently these five mega corporations, not only rule the corporate world, but they have taken over things geopolitically as well, and they own
Right.
parts of the world, parts of the solar system, and yeah, that's a part I really hope that we explore because there's always been this sense of Wayland, the corporation, even from the very, very beginning of these movies. So that'll be an interesting part to explore.
Yeah. I'm curious about that. And then how does it line up with the other aspect of um synth cyborg hybrid,
Yeah.
right? And then what do they want to do with the xenomorph? Like, I think that there's some indications in
Yeah.
the films that they want to like mix the xenomorph with human beings as another approach towards perfecting our biology or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how will that fit in? Really curious to see where it all goes. I'm looking forward to talking about it with you each week.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to this. We have, let's see, we did two, so we've got, yeah, 6 more weeks.
Cool. All right, so we'll leave it there. Thanks as always for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If so, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up button, all that good stuff. Comments are good. You can leave comments. I'll try to reply to comments if you leave comments. You can check out tvobsessive.com. All sorts of written work there on TV shows, past and present, and so on. If you want to follow us on social media, search for TV Obsessive. You should find us on whatever platform you're on, basically, unless it's a really obscure one. And we'll be back next week.
All right. Looking forward to it.